people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Good evening, I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's Late Edition. Breaking tonight on the front page of The Express and The Telegraph, Kemi Badenoch's secure UK borders plan will include a US-style removals force that will deport supposedly 150,000 illegal migrants a year. Also coming up...
Yes, coming up in the United States, do we need a fast, furious and aggressive deportation scheme in the UK as we've seen in America? It's going to have a hell of a lot of resistance. I'll tell you exactly how they're doing it here, stateside.
There's one rule for them and one rule for all of us.
Isn't that right, Angela? It definitely is. She's been taking us for a ride, hasn't she? Why is the former Deputy PM's boyfriend being ferried around in a taxpayer-funded BMW? Also...
Everybody was unified in wanting this war to end and seeing peace in the Middle East, and we're very close to achieving that.
President Trump, is he going to do it? Another day closer to peace. Netanyahu says he hopes to announce hostages released in the next few days and vows Hamas will be disarmed. Also...
things you're dying to say or do right now that you feel like you can't.
No, I just make a choice.
Well, she certainly has made a choice. She's been spotted this evening at Paris Fashion Week. This is a surprise visit, of course, to Europe. Her first in over 2 years. No sign of her beloved H, Prince Harry, though. Joining me this evening on tonight's panel, we've got former Labour Party advisor Paul Richards, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and comedian Leo Kirst. Plus, I look to the streets of London today to meet some of those very tolerant, be kind, pro-Palestine protesters.
But there was a terrorist attack in Manchester.
Is committing genocide.
A terrorist attack
Israel is committing genocide.
There was a terrorist attack in Manchester.
Israel is committing genocide.
Do you understand
there is
why?
A live genocide.
Do you understand
there
why?
There is a live genocide.
Do you understand why people might...
Oh boy, the front pages are really hot tonight. I'm really enjoying reading some of these. So should we go through them together? The Daily Star. Party lines. Yes, this is the accusation that traces of cocaine have been found at Labour's student shindig, report according to the Daily Star. The Sunday Times. Quite a big story here. I think this is going to blow up over the next couple of days. China spy trial scrapped days after top secret Whitehall talks. Interesting. We'll dig into that once I've had a good read of it. The Telegraph. Kemi Badenoch, I'll deport 150,000 per year. This is, of course, her tough crackdown on illegal migration, her plans for mass deportations. The Sunday Mirror. Synagogue attack horror. We stand united. Terror survivors send message of unity after killings. The Sunday Express. Tory ICE force would deport 150,000 a year. The Sun on Sunday. This one is not good for old Ange, is it? 3 pads to free ride. New fury as Angela Rayner uses taxpayer card to ferry round her boyfriend. The Observer, check this one out. Hey, this one's sending shivers down my spine. Tony of Arabia. I think that's what he likes to think he is, actually, isn't he? He thinks he's like some sort of a saviour of the Middle East. That's, of course, the news that the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, should I say, Tony Blair, looks set to be part of the Peace Board of Gaza. And finally, the Mail. Raina is taking us for a ride. We just heard the news on that one, so we will dig into that. Of course, we've got my fantastic panel here tonight. Former Labour Party advisor. He's doing a lot of heavy lifting tonight, I have to say. Paul Richards, journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee, and comedian Leo Kuss. Leo, I'll start with you. What takes your fancy? Which one?
I mean, there's the Palestine protests. There's this Tory ICE force, ICE baby. I don't know. I'm just not convinced by Kemi. She doesn't strike me as somebody with the burning fire in her heart.
Yeah.
You know, she's still part of the old regime, really, who basically failed to get a grip on immigration at all. In fact, under Boris, immigration surged to ridiculous levels. They're neoliberals, but they've taken that to the extremes. Now, I guess it's good to see some competition between different parties to see who can deport the most. But I don't believe.
It's like a race. What do you think Labour's going to come in? We'll do 1 million. I promise you. We'll do 1 million deportations. I just don't know if I trust any of them with this issue. At least the Tories and Labour. I just don't believe the public trusts them anymore, Paul. And this is the critical issue, isn't it, for Kemi Badenoch? Because of course the Tories saw not just illegal migration get completely out of control. They failed to tackle the issue at all. I don't think they managed to deport anybody. And of course, legal migration was also a complete disaster.
Well, this was the so-called Boris wave, wasn't it, which happened post-Brexit. Let's not go over Brexit, but one of the reasons why it went so up was because of that. Anyway, Kemi's curse is a bit like Cassandra in the sense that, whatever she says, she won't be believed because she was part of the government that did it in the first place. And just as a policymaker, let me just flag, why is it 150,000? Why is it not 145,000 or 155,000? It's just a made-up number for a headline, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a serious response to a serious issue. It's just a headline.
Do you know what? One thing I do quite like about this policy is this ICE border force idea, because I think the reason why, I'll tell you why I like it. One, because I think we need to show a bit of toughness, and two, we don't have enough. Who would we rope in otherwise? Would it be the military? We can't use the police; they're already stretched. So we do need some kind of border force. But it is sort of.
Well, we have border force.
Well, yeah, but there's not enough of them either, and they need to patrol them. They need to be doing their job in the first place, which they're not doing a good job of right now.
How are we going to actually pay for this?
I think it can be done really cheaply. If we look at Iran and Pakistan, Iran and Pakistan expelled millions of Afghans, and they did it on a shoestring. All you really need is a bunch of coaches and a guy with a pointy stick to get people to get on the coach.
I have a feeling they might have used something a bit more violent than a pointy stick, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I get what you're saying. You could just put them on the coaches and just send them across. We'll put them on the Eurostar. Just book out the Eurostar for the next year. Yeah. That's quite a lot of people in one go, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think Paul's raised a really important point when he said, how did we come up with this figure? How did she come up with this figure? And it's like all the figures that come up, because I was listening to a radio programme in the week, and it was about people doing degrees. And Tony Blair had originally decided he wanted 50-50. And I thought, well, how do they come up with 50-50? I mean, because some years it could be 60-40, 30-70, blah, blah, blah. But trying to reach a target of 50-50 is utterly ludicrous.
So can I read out the Shadow Justice Secretary's comments? Because I think this is a thinly guised attack on Kemi Badenoch. I really do. And let me just I'll tell you why. You might guess it yourself. He goes, Robert Jenrick told the Sunday Express exclusively that the removals will continue until every single illegal migrant is deported. By the way, this is the Shadow Justice Secretary. The Shadow Home Secretary say this is Robert Jenrick, of course, clearly the authority on this in the Tory party. And then he goes on to say this. Frankly, we've been pussyfooting around for too long as a country, and there's got to be an end to it.
Well, that is
the
him.
Pussyfooting around is come clearly from Kemi Badenoch, because she's taken 337 days to decide this policy is something they should do, Paul.
I mean, Jenrick is on manoeuvres, and you can see them from outer space. And obviously, this is the eve of the Conservative Party conference. So just as ours was overshadowed by the Andy Burnham failed bid for leadership, then I think Jenrick is going to be the story of the week, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he always is, isn't he? I mean, he's at least the social media story of the week. Again, just sticking on this for a second, because this is very Trump, isn't it? This is very, very Trump to do this. Yeah. We had Ben Leo on earlier on. He was talking about how this is very similar to what Trump's doing. Do you think Badenoch just can't decide who she is?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
As you
That
said,
is
it's
at the heart of it.
337 days to decide this. It's, you know, she doesn't seem to be hitting the ground running, you know, with any sort of attempt at doing anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. So we've got a little bit of sound in the studio going on here.
Have we got a protest?
We've got a protest happening. They found me. Look, I tried to get away from them earlier on, but they found me. All right. Just to go back to this, it's very Trumpian, isn't it? This idea of having a strong border force that's going to come swoop in and grab some people and chuck them out of the country. That's kind of maybe what the British public, maybe Babe knocks ahead on this issue here.
Maybe, but I go back to what you said, Leo, and you've said that as well, Alex, that she doesn't really know who she is, and that is at the heart of everything. It does not take the brain of Britain to work out that the reason why Nigel Farage actually resonates with the British people is because he knows who he is, and he puts forward an authentic personality. Now, that's
and
what
he didn't grow up in Nigeria.
But you've got to be able to do that. And successive leaders of different parties, I mean, you've got to hand it a little bit to old Ed Davey. Whether you agree with the Liberals or not, whether you agree with his board surfing or whatever you call it, he actually created a persona during the election campaign, and he's got 72 seats.
No, I think you're being slightly too generous, Tim. I mean, I don't find him more convincing because he's on a trampoline. I think he won 72 seats because the Tory vote just completely collapsed in those areas. I do. If you look at their vote share, it didn't go up. The vote share went up in a tiny, tiny amount.
Yeah, I know,
but I
still think that he found a little gap, and he pushed his way through it, particularly with the video with his son and how he cared for his son and how he went on the agenda with the carers.
That's very different from this, isn't it? Which is this weird kind of publicity stunt.
This is a bit weird. I agree.
Just a bit.
I agree. This does look a bit weird.
He looks like a complete buffoon.
Yeah, but you know what? 72 seats is 72 seats.
I think at the next election, because, I mean, the issue of migrant hotels, now that they're being spread out with Operation Scatter, they're going to middle-class communities. They're going to be in the Lib Dem constituencies that previously could have the noble opinion of, oh, let's invite everybody from the Horn of Africa to the UK.
They're already in Lib Dem seats.
Yeah, but they're going to be...
Not on the scale, I think you're right.
Not on the scale they've been on. So this is really going to sharpen people's opinions.
Yeah.
People are going to have to live with the consequences of their opinions.
No.
People don't want... Whatever you can say. People might want open borders. They don't want an asylum hotel next to their kids' school.
But I do know that the place where I used to live, Richmond and Twickenham and the area around there, that's a Lib Dem stronghold. There are several Lib Dem constituencies. They're close to Heathrow Airport.
They're building a big asylum hotel just outside the big Sainsbury's.
Well, yeah. So what I'm saying is,
Lib Dems are going to be next election. People are going to be like, "What on earth? I don't want these guys in my garden."
They're already there.
No, they're not. They're building it.
There's going to be more. I think what
the old pets.
I have been inside 6 of them, so I know they already.
And this is going to sharpen
So there's
people's
going to be
minds.
more. I don't think it'll make any difference.
I think it will make a difference.
No.
I think what you'll find is that there's certain parts of London that experience mass legal migration first, and I think those are the British people that ended up going, actually, do you know what, I'm moving out. A lot of them moved to Essex, a lot of them moved across the country. And legal migration is very different because it brings with it a lot more cultural issues and crime and things like that. So where it's taken so long for the effects of mass migration to fill people legally, legal migration speeds that up rapidly. It's like steroids for cultural dissent, isn't it?
Especially when the government, is taking your taxes and then spending it, lavishing it on these guys who are coming across with no respect for the country they're coming to.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, listen, while we've got time, because we can't let it get away with this. We can't. Because just literally last weekend, we had Wedge Street singing. Oh, they were pouring out calling out for Angela Rayner, weren't they? It was like they could have done a séance and she might have appeared. They mentioned her name so many times. Now, she's been caught in yet another scandal, or allegedly at least, according to the front page of the Daily Mail, weeks after she quit in disgrace. The Daily Mail reveal how former Deputy Prime Minister's boyfriend, Sam Tarry's ferried around by her taxpayer-funded bodyguards in an £80,000 BMW, also paid for by you. We've even got the last line of this says the bodyguards were loading up the cars. They were using the bodyguards for removals.
get your money's worth. I like that. That's not ripping off the taxpayer. That's making sure the taxpayer is getting value for money by making these bodyguards work.
Yeah, I mean, why would they be protecting a man like Sam Tarry? No one's even ever heard of. I mean, but this is ridiculous, Leo, because a woman who's just been caught in a scandal, you would think, you know what? I might have a political comeback if I'm really careful. But she's gone, no, just get the bodyguards to move it. I can't do her voice, but just gonna get your bodyguards to move. Go on, Sam.
So where's she from?
Yeah, I can't do that. I'm going to do some impressions, but Angela Rayner's not.
She's from Birmingham.
I'll let the Intel lady be good at that one. But this is the problem, isn't it? She's just got no political. She's not astute. She could never be Prime Minister.
I know. I think she could. I think stuff like this, it'll blow over. It's not really. I mean, it's hardly the biggest political crime of the century. You know what I mean?
What do you think? She had her own deportations plan. She'd use it to get herself on holiday for free.
Yeah. And I think people respect that. Working all the angles, trying to get all the freebies. You know what I mean? Who doesn't like a free bar of soap when they stay at a Travelodge? And also I think the whole tax advisor. She met with tax advisors. Maybe she was paying that tax advisory firm a lot of money so they could tell her how to pay the maximum amount of tax. Has anybody considered that?
Yeah, no, I haven't actually. I don't think she considered it either. If I'm being honest with you, Leah. But
no judgment. That's the point.
It's
no
just
judgment.
crazy because I think the problem is, Linda, is that people are starting to associate the Labour Party with the freebies party, like the grifters party. Like as soon as we get into office, let's get as many freebies as we possibly can. Lord Ali, bring him round. We've got sacked Sue Gray, who was obviously kicked out of 10 Downing Street for potentially passing a security pass over to Lord Ali over donations allegations. It just doesn't look good for a party that's meant to be creating, a new cleaning up politics vibe.
Yeah, it needed to be like Caesar's wife, beyond reproach. That's what needed to happen with the Labour Party. It needed to really focus on this issue, and it didn't. And that's the problem, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah, you're very quiet, Paul.
Well, I think there are bigger issues. You're using the close protection officers to hump some goods into the back of a car on the brink of a peace deal in Gaza, a war in Ukraine, a cost of living crisis, a crisis in American democracy. It's small beer, isn't it?
I have to tell you, I'm more interested in British issues, and she used to be the Deputy Prime Minister.
And she's paid the price. She's gone.
Yeah, she's got to pay back that cab.
Perfectly well that if
it's not a cab, is it?
Perfectly well that if a Conservative MP was caught doing this, you'd be the first one shouting it from the rooftops, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's true, Paul, and you know it. I appreciate you've done a really good job tonight, and I want to say...
Oh, thanks very much.
If I was ever running for us, I'd want Paul defending me, because he's really, really good at this stuff.
He's very convincing.
He's very convincing.
Thank you very much.
Really good.
I am here, by the way.
I'm giving you praise. Come on, this is good stuff. Send that to Keir Starmer. He might put you in number 10. But Leo, it's crazy, right? It's crazy. £80,000 BMW. Take it off her. Give her an Uber credit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to see our sort of heads of state or former heads of state going around in a £7,000 second-hand Fiat Punto.
I'd love that. I think that would be absolutely so arena. I'd love it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't think this is going to stick. I think people might actually love Angela Rayner more for it. She's the mum everybody knows who knows how to work the benefits.
She can't get sacked again. She's probably thinking, do you know what? I can't get sacked twice.
Yeah. And I think there's going to be worse.
Well, she could.
Worse and more.
What else could she get sacked from?
Well, no, she's just going to disappear off to the back benches, stay there. Someone at some point will resurrect her career, and then because there's a basic...
Someone? Is he sitting next to you by any chance?
Heavens. I don't think it's happening soon, is it?
No, maybe it's not soon, but...
No. Well, you never know.
You never know.
You never know.
You know that can happen, and then the same result will reoccur.
I think Keir will leave. Keir will leave because he's not, a power-crazed, power-hungry guy. He's there because he wants to be the efficient technocrat. So if he can see that he's actually holding things up, he'll step aside.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about former politicians. Tony of Arabia. Fantastic. What do you make of that? Prime Minister Blair of Gaza. He just can't stop, can he? He's just raring to go. Will he be the man to bring peace to the Middle East?
He tried it before.
Yeah, tried it before. Went exceptionally well, didn't it? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
So, it is really, really tough, but it's also tough for people who are blind, people who are like pushing buggies, wheelchair users. I mean, my late father was a wheelchair user, and, back in the day, we'd have to sort of get him off the road, and then we'd be in the road, and then we'd have to get him back up onto the pavement again. And that's a big price to pay for somebody who's not prepared to walk around the block and think they have the right to, park on the pavement.
Maria, how do you think it should work? Do you think this needs to be a national ban on pavement parking, or do you think it should be led by councils, so councils decide area by area where you're allowed to park?
I think it should be a mix. I think what we should do is have a blanket ban on pavement parking, and then what councils can do is, there's certain roads, there's one here in Exeter where the road is very narrow and the pavements are very wide. I'm not quite sure why, but, it's perfectly safe to park on there. So like a street like that would be fine. And I think one of the problems at the moment is legislation. It's just so unclear, because there's this rule which says that you must not park on the pavement in London and Scotland, but you should not do it elsewhere. So it becomes a bit of a moral maze. And I think that, just to make that clearer about what people should do, because a lot of people sort of think, well, I can do it. And of course, traffic wardens can't do anything about it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. The front pages are really, really hot tonight, aren't they? I mean, we've got so much here, from Rayner to cocaine founder, potential alleged cocaine founder at Labour student shindig. We've got Badenoch making 150,000 deportations. And to talk through all of this and what's making all this news is Deputy Editor at The Spectator, Freddie Gray. Freddie, thank you so much for joining me this evening. There's quite a lot to dig into tonight. Where would you like to start, Freddie?
Yeah, you're right. There is a lot. It's almost like every newspaper's got a bit of a banger. I think we should start with the Telegraph.
Yes, let's do it.
And the Express have done the same story, and that's Kemi Badenoch announcing that she will introduce a kind of Trump-style deportation squads if the Tories ever get elected, which does look increasingly likely. And this, of course, is because the Tory party conference starts tomorrow. And yes, I mean, the Express pick up on the ICE element. I'd rather wish they'd done ICE Kemi, but they resisted. I think it is a significant development that the Tories are talking like this, because, of course, we know that they're trying to match Reform, who have their own restoring justice agenda on illegal migration and deportations in particular. Reform are saying they will do a lot of deportations. And now Kemi is trying to match that. She isn't, however, saying she would pull out of the ECHR, it seems. But she is just being very firm on the message that she doesn't want to let legal arguments stand in the way of being tough on immigration.
Interesting.
The problem with that... sorry, Alex, go ahead.
No, I was going to say interesting, because my observation from it was that she was saying that she would leave the ECHR. So have I misinterpreted that, Freddie?
No, I don't think she has.
Go on, tell us more.
Well, so if we read the... let me get the piece up, sorry.
No, take your time. Because obviously this is a major, major talking point, and it will be tomorrow, because she's going to make a massive statement about this. Because, you know, it's quite confusing. I mean, we've been waiting 337 days for Kemi to make a statement since she became party leader. And, of course, even generally, it looks like he's making sort of vague, thinly guised attacks on her today. I think in the Express he said something like, we've been pussyfooting around as a country too long. I think that was more of a jab at Kemi Badenoch not taking too much time on this issue. Of course, an issue he's been on top of quite a lot. So what do you make of it all?
Well, I think it's just, as I said, I think it's an attempt to match reform. I think Kemi is in dire straits. There's a threat to her leadership. She knows that immigration is the key issue. It's what reform are winning on. As far as I can see from the quote, she's hedging on ECHR. I think and that's why everyone's leading on the ICE-style deportation squads. I think another element of this, too, is the way in which Trumpian politics is now seen as the thing to go after, not the thing to run away from. Tories are, and even Labour and Reform, are all competing to sound more Trump than the other when it comes to immigration and borders and deportations in particular.
Indeed, it does seem like a race to see who can deport the most people. I'm expecting to hear some massive numbers come out of Labour next, just to see if they can top the 150,000. I don't think Reform were that ambitious. It will be 3,000 a week, I think someone the panel told me earlier. I want to bring your attention to another story here. I don't know if you can attest to it, Freddie, which is the China spy trial. I think this is really fascinating. This is an issue close to your heart, if I remember correctly, as well. I think this could be one of the biggest stories that might not hit the papers because it's not as sexy. But what's your take on it?
I think this is fascinating. So a few weeks ago, viewers might remember, the case of two Chinese spies, Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry. One was a parliamentary assistant, the other's an academic. They were arrested and on spying, so the treasonous act of spying for an enemy. And a few weeks ago, that case was just quietly dropped. And a lot of people who followed it quite closely said, bit odd that this has been dropped. And why so suddenly? And it turns out that it's because the government has put pressure on the CPS to say that because China is not anymore considered an enemy, but technically defined as an enemy, it is a geostrategic challenger. Therefore, what these two Christophers were doing doesn't amount to something illegal. So the case went away. But that is a very, very fishy thing, and it does coincide with Labour buttering up China on all sorts of fronts. So it looks as though Labour has got the message that China does not like this case and has put pressure on the prosecution service to let the case go, to drop the case. And that in itself is a big, big story.
I completely agree with you, Freddie. I want to bring my panel into this discussion, if you don't mind, because I've got Paul Richards here. He'd like to ask you a question. Paul, I'll hand it over to you.
Well, I mean, it's a story that's going to have to unravel far more than we've got at the moment. But I just remember when this was announced to the House of Commons, Lindsay Hurl, the Speaker, was absolutely furious, if you remember. You know, he was incandescent that this case had collapsed and these two geezers who, you know, were alleged to be Chinese spies working inside Parliament itself, seemingly getting away with it. And I just wonder, maybe Freddie can speculate on whether that's because Lindsay Hurl knew that this story was true.
Well, I think it is true. I think the ambiguity in it is whether these people were consciously working for the Chinese or whether they just accepted China's version of the truth because they were sort of working for funds and institutions that have links with China. I mean, it's quite possible it's the latter, not the former, and that should have been decided in a trial about whether they were actually spying for the Chinese. But now it's gone away, and unless this scandal really blows up again, we may never know.
Yeah. Linda, do you have anything to talk about?
Yeah, so Freddie, I think even if this kind of dies down a little bit, we're going to hit this problem again, aren't we? You look at the language they use in that story, you know, the construction of a trade and investment relationship that sits alongside a threat-driven approach to espionage. I mean, all this carefully worded stuff about the Chinese is really about the fact that we are totally beholden to them, and it's going to be very difficult for us to ease our way out of this relationship, and that's underpinning this story and will underpinning in more stories in the future, don't you think?
I think so, very much. And I think it's interesting. If you look at when the Biden administration took over from the Trump administration, they did the same thing as Labour did, which is they toned down the language on how government thinks about China from enemy and threat to geostrategic challenge. And both Biden administration and Starmer administration used this word challenge, which is a sort of softer word to describe what China is. But you're quite right to point towards the extent to which China, I mean, far more than in America, because America has a very powerful economy all by itself. China has been buying up elements of the British establishment, elements of British higher education. It is a problem in America, but I think in Britain we almost can't confront it because the establishment, for want of a better word, is very much in hoc to large Chinese institutions that put a lot of money into Britain and London and Cambridge and places like that over the years.
Freddie, I'm going to bring Leo in just a second, but I've just spotted this line as I'm reading this story, because it's quite a lot to read here, and I just want to make sure I get my facts right. But at least the Times are saying here that witnesses were told by investigating police officers that the decision to discontinue the case came from, quote, the very top. I hate to speculate, but the very top always seems to me the Prime Minister or someone very close to him. What should we make of that?
Well, it could be the Prime Minister, it could have been Rachel Reeves, it could have been any number of senior figures. Jonathan Powell's involved, Deputy National Security Advisor Michael Collins is involved. A lot of Labour figures are sensitive about this China issue, and it's because their agenda is to butter up China. And you've got to remember that, particularly on the Trump front, Starmer's doing a very difficult balancing act because he's desperate to please Trump, and that's the one thing that's going well with his administration. But Labour's biases are always towards China over America. I mean, that's a little bit harsh, perhaps, but certainly they are keen to accommodate China while sucking up to Trump.
Yeah. Leo?
Yeah, I'm not that interested in the China spy trial. I've got to be honest, it's realpolitik. You know what I mean? We're doing a lot of business with China, and right now the Labour Party is getting a lot of vital advice on how to monitor and repress their own citizens. So they won't want to rock that apple cart. But I want to talk about Tony of Arabia, Tony Blair, going over to join the Board of Peace for Gaza. I mean, Freddie, don't you think that these people have suffered enough?
Well, I heard you talking earlier. It is a rich irony that Tony Blair is now considered this great ambassador, global ambassador for peace. When, of course, you know, he's an instrumental figure in the Iraq War, which was probably the biggest disaster in that region in the last 30 years. And yet there he is, taking the credit. And it's interesting that, you know, the Trump plan does seem to be working. I was skeptical about it earlier this week. I thought it didn't look like it was going to work. But at the moment, it looks like, of course, it could all go wrong. It looks like he may be about to pull off something quite spectacular with this 20-point plan. Certainly Netanyahu thinks so, and Hamas do seem to have accommodated his concerns. So some of them. But I think that it's interesting that rather than focusing on Trump, you've got the Observer putting Tony Blair there, saying, here he is, he's back. It speaks a lot to the Observer's sort of way of thinking about the world, that that's the way they look at it.
I just are so speechless, Freddie. I really am. Of all the people to pick, I just cannot fathom it.
He was our representative of the quartet, though, for all those years. He was based at the King David Hotel, and he was leading those negotiations for peace in the Middle East.
Yeah, but Paul, I mean,
he knows that area better than anyone. I mean, you know, he's a good choice.
Well, he certainly does. He knows how to destroy it as well. Freddie Gray, thank you so much for joining me this evening. I really appreciate your insights on all these top stories this evening. Thanks for joining me. Thank you, Freddie. Well, look, coming up, Ben Leo is going to join us live from Washington, D.C. I want to know what he thinks about all this stuff, but also a new Florida bill seeks to bypass training requirements for people using guns to defend religious buildings. Oh, but interesting timing we're here in the UK as well, isn't it? This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition. Stay tuned.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some very heavy rain across Croatia this weekend and some more heavy downpours likely in southern Italy as well. Generally fine with sunny spells, a bit of a breeze blowing across the Canaries. Sunshine too for the Algarve. Small chance of a shower if you're heading to Barcelona. Certainly some heavy showers over southern Italy and those bright colours there suggesting some very heavy rain for Croatia. That should be clearing away as we head into the new working week. So Dubrovnik turning sunnier again for Tuesday. Goodbye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening and welcome to your latest GB News weather update from the Met Office. After a pretty windy day on Saturday, the winds are going to slowly ease as we go through the course of tonight, but there will still be some damaging gusts of wind, particularly across northern parts of Scotland. And that's courtesy of Storm Amy that's only very slowly drifting away towards Norway. And those isobars remain pretty tightly packed together as we go into Sunday. So some very windy conditions overnight tonight, particularly for northern Scotland. Otherwise, the winds will ease down somewhat, but it will still stay fairly blustery around western coasts. A lot of the showers, though, becoming confined to the west, eastern and southern areas turning dry with clear spells, and temperatures staying up in the high single figures for most of us, so a frost-free night to come. Now, Sunday promises to be generally a bit brighter and drier for many of us, and will even begin with some sunshine across northern parts of Scotland. But it will still be very windy. A wind warning still in place until midday, and still the potential for gusts of 60 to 70 miles per hour across the Northern Isles and northeast Scotland. Pretty blustery with some fairly frequent showers moving in through the Irish Sea into parts of northwest England, Wales and the southwest. Further south and east, though, across England, many places starting the day dry with some sunshine. And even though the cloud will bubble up as we go through the course of the day, many eastern and southern areas will stay largely dry on Sunday. And it won't be as chilly or as windy as it was on Saturday. Temperatures up by a degree or two, so feeling a bit more pleasant in that sunshine compared to earlier on in the weekend. Although fairly cloudy and damp through the afternoon across western parts of Scotland with some fairly persistent rain coming into the west. And that rain will still be around as we go into Monday as well. And through the day, we'll see the wind strengthening once again with coastal gales developing for northwestern parts of Scotland. Otherwise, fairly warm and pleasant for the northeast of Scotland, Northern Ireland and the vast majority of England and Wales having a fine day on Monday with some sunny spells. Temperatures will also be above average and that will continue through the week ahead. Plenty of fine weather in the south, wetter in the north.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
That's actually brilliant. I mean, you know what? Legend for doing it. Absolutely. That's Tom Skinner there. Of course, you all know him from Bosch from Twitter. Of course, he's on the front pages quite a lot the last few weeks. We won't go into it, but I think it's great. I think he's doing a good job. What did you make of it?
I've got to do the rest of the show with a Sammy. I don't know, he got in trouble for that because he put fake tan on, so people said he had blackface, but he didn't have blackface. He had fake tan on. That's not the same as blackface.
Everyone does that in dancing, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. He did look rather dark in that picture, though. I have to admit, I wasn't sure who it was when I first looked at it.
Though,
yeah.
I think it's Jackson 5.
He was very Jackson 5. It was like Michael Jackson in reverse.
But what dance exactly is he doing there? That's what I don't understand.
Reverse Jackson. I don't know. I mean, I will have to watch the show, but not during GB News hours, of course. You can watch it 4 in the morning, perhaps.
Paul will get a good briefing because his wife is absolutely fanatical.
She is. She absolutely.
What does she think of Tom Skinner?
She's not shared her view, to be honest, but I mean, she will. I will find out. Yeah.
Let's find out. All right.
Sure.
Well, maybe we get someone else's opinion on this because joining me now is the host of the Late Show Live, Of course, going live in just 20 minutes' time is Ben Leo. Ben, there's this new bill in Florida that's seeking to bypass training requirements for people using guns to defend religious buildings. What's that all about?
Yes, I could do with a gun in the studio right now because there's a mozzie that's loose and it's causing me a bit of chaos. Yes, Florida, a dangerous mozzie. They are absolutely terrible over here, the mozzies. I'll talk about it another time, maybe do a segment on it. But yes, in Florida, there is proposed new legislation to make it easier for volunteers at religious sites such as synagogues, churches, mosques and so on to be armed to protect themselves from anti-religious attacks. And it's pertinent to today, Alex, listeners and viewers, because of course it's just days off the back of the absolute horror in Manchester, the attack on the Jews at the synagogue in Manchester. So the big question is, do we need something similar in the UK in the face of rising anti-Semitism? And of course it is rising. You saw it yourself today, Alex. I was watching your footage on the streets of London today at the pro-Palestine march with much interest. Do we need something similar in the UK? Should our police officers even be armed with at least pistols? There was some conjecture from the Police Federation, I think it was a few weeks ago, saying that UK officers should all be armed with pistols. Do we need to go a step further and have armed volunteers at the likes of synagogues to protect Jews? Even Christians, we've seen in the likes of France, there's been attacks on priests who have been murdered and beheaded by Islamists. I don't think it's a bad idea, but it does reignite the gun debate, of course, doesn't it, in America? I'm actually pro-gun in America because, look, if Americans had a choice and they could push a button and take all the guns off the streets, I'm sure they would. But the fact of the reality is the horse is bolted. There's 6 guns to every American, so you're not going to get them off the streets. The argument is that the best way to stop a terrorist attack, a mass shooting, is by good people being armed too. Because if you don't, it's just the bad guys that have guns and that are armed. What's your take, Alex, on guns in America?
Having been out in the United States myself for quite a long period of time previously with different work, I certainly agree with you. And I think it's absolutely necessary because there are some very nefarious people in America and you need the right to defend yourself. It's also part of their constitution and it's just part of the founding of their country, of the American country that many Brits, of course, will never understand. But having spoken to many Americans about it, they are very passionate about their right to do it. I might curtail the ability to sell AK-47s and stuff like that in shops, but I understand. I pretty much believe we should have it.
Let me tell you about Arizona.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I was in Arizona for Charlie Kirk's memorial on Sunday a few weeks ago, and we went down to the southern border as well. But Arizona has, I think it's the most liberal gun laws in the United States. So you could walk into Walmart, which is the American version of Asda, I think it's owned by Asda, and you could buy a gun. I could buy a gun as a Brit, and I wouldn't need a license, and you can open carry, which basically means I could buy that gun there and then, I could wrap it around my shoulder and just walk out with it, and that's absolutely fine. Some of the most liberal gun laws in the United States. I think that's crazy. When I say I'm pro-gun, I think that is pretty obscene, but you know, if you have good background checks, you have medical interviews from the likes of the GPs, and even like they do in the UK, I've got a shotgun license in the UK, you have an interview from a firearms officer from the police force. They'll come round, make sure you're not a nutter, they'll look at your home, see how your home is kept, is it tidy, and of course the gun has to be kept in a locked cabinet bolted to the wall or floor, and only you can know where the keys are. So that's the kind of gun control I'd support. But it's an interesting debate here in Florida about religious volunteers being armed. I think it's probably necessary here in the US. Do we need it in the UK?
Well, do you know what, Ben? What caught me about this story was how similar the conversation is. You know, because of course we saw those horrific attacks on that church not that long ago in America, two attacks on churches in a very short period of time, and then something happened here in the UK with the synagogue. So it seems to me, and this is why I think the Late Show Live is so important to our viewers, is that whatever's happening in America, that I believe is we are always 5 years behind it getting worse here in the UK. Maybe for different reasons, of course, for different violent acts. But it's those sorts of things that are so critical to the conversation in Britain now. We even saw Kemi Badenoch coming out with an ICE-style policy, which she's going to announce tomorrow.
Yes, ICE baby. So they would basically try and mimic the Tories. They'd mimic ICE, this side of the pond, which is the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's the hard-hitting, aggressive, effective anti-immigration team that have been kicking out, I think it's 2 million illegals now from the United States. in just, well, what are we, in 10 months. Can you imagine 2 million illegals in 10 months? It just shows it's about political will and who's in the White House. But yeah, the Tories are proposing for a UK sweeping new powers to remove illegals. They reckon they can get rid of 150,000 people a year in Britain, 750,000 over the course of a parliament. I just wonder, and I mentioned to you in the past hour, Alex, we can't stop rubber dinghies coming from the French equivalent of Tesco coming across the channel. How are we going to find 750,000 illegals who are hiding in Britain? I hope they do it, but I just can't see logistically how it's going to happen.
Yeah, you took the question I was going to ask you out of my mouth there, Ben. But what else have you got coming up on your show?
What else is coming up on my show? We have, again, America setting the trend of the world in aggression, force by strength. They are absolutely obliterating these drug boats coming across to America from Venezuela. The government is blowing them out of the water. Members of the Trump administration has been describing how drug terrorists, narco-terrorists are being absolutely vaporized before their eyes as these boats packed with cocaine and fentanyl are crossing towards America. The argument is, and even Bev Turner doesn't really support this, her argument was, well, look, there's no due process. These people aren't being tried in the United States. They're not going through the court system. You're just basically nuking them out the water. I argue, I really don't care about that. They're drug traffickers. They're killing millions of Americans with fentanyl and cocaine and God knows whatever else before they even get to the United States. So we're going to be getting stuck into that. It's going to be a packed show, 2 hours, of course, and the rest of the newspapers as well.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. I totally agree. This is vaporize them. Even the Democrat who had Bob, is it Wiener, who came into the studio here to talk to us, even he agreed with it. There we go. So there might get a bit of consensus in America on that. You never know. Ben Leo, Late Show Live. Do not miss it. It will be starting in just a few minutes. Thanks, Ben. Let's go back to the panel here, because talking of all of this stuff, I think of Tony Blair. He haunts me. Yeah. He haunts this country. He's like a ghost. You just can't get rid of him, can you, Liam?
Haunts a lot of the world.
Yeah, he does that. Now he's back to haunting the Middle East. I mean, as I think you said, have they not suffered enough? Yeah. These kids, these poor Gazan children.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Although I flew over Iraq recently and it looked fantastic from the air. I mean, I obviously wasn't that close. I was 40,000 feet away. But apparently it's now a stable, thriving, prosperous society. So maybe, maybe if Tony Blair bombed Britain, we'd be... 20 years' time, we'll be...
Don't give him any good ideas. Don't give him any good ideas.
So maybe, I don't know, I mean, it does seem that, the neocon plan to remake the Middle East eventually kind of worked.
Well,
and I've just got to say, with regards to the guns that Ben Leo was talking about, I know in Britain we look at America with these guns and we say, oh, that's terrible, they shouldn't have guns, that's dangerous. You know what they don't have, because they got guns? They don't have grooming gangs. I think if all the dads in Rotherham owned an AK-47, owned an AR-15, I think some of these chaps would think twice about going after the kids.
Of course, we're not encouraging gun violence, are we, Leo? We're just speculating on what might happen if we did have guns in this country.
Not this week of all weeks.
No, we're certainly not. Lawrence of Arabia, very quickly. Is it Tony of Arabia now, Linda?
Yeah, maybe.
Love it.
Maybe.
Do you think do you think he's back for good?
Well, that's what he's banking on.
Yeah.
Quite literally, by the way.
Yeah,
because he is immensely wealthy already.
Yeah.
I think it's the best news of the week. I think it's fantastic.
What, because he's going to leave the UK?
No, because he's going to bring peace to the Middle East.
Oh, do you know what? If you believe that, you'll believe anything, Paul, honestly. Oh, right then. Well, coming up, can you guess how many mental health days BBC staff are taking every year? Well, you're going to find out after the break. This is Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Do you ever take a mental health day off? I don't think I've ever had a mental health day off. Like, and I certainly can't do my job from bed. It wouldn't be very entertaining or very pleasant for any of you at home either, actually. But tomorrow's Telegraph on page 13, inside story here. BBC staff missed 20,000 days in a year over mental health. Wasn't it just? This is just bonkers. 20,000 days yearly. I can't fathom it. Imagine if we did that here at GB News. We wouldn't be a channel.
Yeah, I wouldn't be here right now. You
have one off next week.
And also, surely it's good for your mental health to go in and do a hard day's work. I don't know if anybody at the BBC's ever tried doing that. But, you know, I think this is ridiculous, the whole obsession around mental health. You know, I think unless you're, seeing demons and, properly crazy, I think, a lot of people just dress up you feel a bit blue or whatever, they just dress it up as whatever. Every single comedian right now has got autism or ADHD and is doing shows about it because it gives them something to self-obsess about, and also gives them something, if you're a white guy, it gives you some sort of victim card.
Yeah, you've got to have a victim card these days, haven't you? You've got to have something, and it's just very tedious, isn't it, Linda? Because, I'll give you the exact number, because why not? If you really want to send you to sleep, 20,884 sick days in the year to the end of March 2024.
I think there's also a mentality there where people think they have to have a certain number of sick days every year.
Get your fair share.
Get your allotment, get your quota of sick days in.
I think go on the allotment.
But businesses that I've worked in actually scrapped having a set amount of sick days because they found that people took less when they weren't said, you can have 30 days off this year, because they're going to go, yeah, I'll take those.
So the BBC has 21,000 employees, so it's either everyone taking 1 day a year or it's some people taking an awfully lot of time off. It's interesting to know which.
Totally,
really.
and of course they talk about things like depression and anxiety.
And these are serious issues, though, Alex. I mean, let's not...
Some of them are. Some of them are, and some of them aren't.
I think there is such a thing as poor mental health.
No, I certainly... Listen, there will be genuine people who work at the BBC who genuinely aren't well. But I think that many days is extortionate in a year. That's a lot of people. Anyway, we've got another inside story here for you, because the US Department of Homeland Security appears to have mocked Britain for letting the Manchester synagogue attacker into the country. In a post on X, the government department wrote, "Want to help keep jihad out of America, along with a link to a recruitment website. The social media post was in a response to a tweet naming the synagogue attacker as Jihad al-Shami, who was, of course, born in Syria but moved to Britain when he was an infant. Leo, we are a laughingstock. We're literally comedy.
No wonder. I mean, when that piece of paper comes across the desk of whoever at the Home Office said that this guy could become a British citizen, and they see his name, Jihad al-Shami, and they're like, oh, fine, rubber stamp it. Welcome to Britain, Mr. Jihad. Yeah. And then, when he commits his horrific atrocities, which I don't think it is a guy acting in isolation. I think it's indicative of, wider sentiment amongst certain communities. When he does that, our authorities tiptoe around and they're desperate to avoid the obvious thing. They're talking about the far right. They're talking about mental health, talking about everything except what it obviously is. I mean, what could it possibly be that Mr. Jihad was motivated by?
Yeah. This is the thing: is if I named my child Little Boy Crusade, I don't think many countries in the Middle East would go, oh, that's somewhere we want to have in the country.
Well, it's the father that had as well a very big issue. Do you remember?
Yes.
It all came out this week that he described that the heinous attacks on October the 7th were a miracle.
Yes. Well, the difficult thing about this is he didn't arrive on a boat last month. He was brought up in the United Kingdom, presumably went to a British school and worked in the British workforce. So the radicalisation has taken place either online or in his community or in his family.
Precisely.
And that's what's terrifying.
A lot of the former terror attacks that have happened in the UK, many of them are actually the children of either asylum seekers or people who have come to this country second generation.
And that's the challenge to us all, isn't it? Is what's going on.
Britain is now an exporter of terror. The Texas synagogue shooting was carried out by a guy who was born in Britain.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. I didn't even think about that. And this is a really big issue because we launched a whole war on terror. Tony of Arabia did it, actually, didn't he? He launched a war on terror. Soon, the Middle East is going to be more peaceful than our countries. He's going to have to launch a war on terror in Britain, and we see how well that went in the Middle East, didn't it? We'll end up having to immigrate to
I mean, I don't want to joke too much about this situation because it's still terribly raw, but there were lots of quotes from people over the last few days from Jews in this country saying that they were going to leave Britain. You see all that? Because they prefer to live in Israel, which is, in fact, a conflict zone.
My Jewish friends are terrified, and they can see the direction Britain is heading in. And Jews have been expelled from so many countries. The left seem to ignore it. Tunisia, Iraq, Algeria, Morocco, Egypt, all these places have big Jewish populations, and were thrown out of the countries.
We certainly are. Well, there we go. Listen, thank you, Linda, Paul, Leo. It's been a great show. Really enjoyed it. But up next, The Late Show Live, hosted by the one and only Ben Leo. Ben, great to have you back.
Thanks, Alex. Great show. Britain is for Brits. Defend the homeland. Rediscover our national identity. Would you at home support that kind of language, that sort of aggressive approach to tackling illegal migration? Because tonight the Tories are proposing to copy ICE here in the United States, the hard-hitting, effective, aggressive anti-immigration force that's kicking 2 million illegals out the country. We'll get stuck into that in just a tick. I'll see you after the break on The Late Show Live.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now? No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes and Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here at GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Tonight on The Late Show Live, kicking down doors, dragging illegals out of Britain and recapturing our national identity. Does the UK need to copy Trump's immigration playbook? Britain for Brits, recapture our national identity. As America launches its biggest crackdown on illegal migration ever, the Tories tonight in the UK are vowing Britain will get its own deportation squads and kick out illegals. But would you support the kind of language and approach used by America? Also, breaking tonight,